everyone, and welcome to the LTH product briefing. I'm delighted today to be joined by my friend Travis Leon, the co-founder and CEO of Jigsaw. Welcome, Travis.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for having me here.
It's great to have you here. I've known about Jigsaw since I think even pre-launch. It's really exciting to see how it's developed over time. Can you tell us a little bit about what Jigsaw is and what's new at Jigsaw?
I'd be delighted, Nikki. As you say, you've probably heard it numerous times because you were one of the first to be supporting us several years ago. So thank you again for that. Jigsaw, in a nutshell, is a quick, easy way for lawyers to create visuals, diagrams, illustrations to help their clients as well as themselves understand some of the complexities in a transaction that they're working on or in a particular case that they're working on if they're a litigator.
Excellent. And recently, similar to many of the other providers in the market, you have worked in a little bit of generative AI to the product. Can you tell us a bit about what that looks like?
Yes, I would love to claim, although I don't know if it really adds much credibility, but we were trying to work with artificial intelligence 4 years ago when we first started Jigsaw. And what we were trying to build back then, we probably got 80% of the way there. We invested, we're looking back on the finances, I think over $1 million in trying to create some of not generative AI, but more of the AI, which are around the visual nature of our product. So it's slightly different, but it's only in the past 6 months that the technology's come along leaps and bounds, and it's really accelerated our progress. And we've been able to release something that we feel the high standards that lawyers would expect. So generative AI is utilized, but actually some of our technologies around more computer vision, similar technology to that which they use with self-driving cars, actually. We're trying to interpret something in the world and understand exactly what it is to then convert it into a digital framework.
That's really cool. I love seeing products where really the technology makes something feasible that was physically not feasible before. So why don't we jump in and take a look?
Okay, we'll start with this. So I'll give you an example here of a hand-drawn sketch, which is quite commonplace amongst lawyers, particularly those that are most senior within a law firm. They're not always the quickest to adopt new technologies, and sometimes they go back to the old school ways of just pen and paper. And that's often the case when creating a structure diagram, as you might see here, trying to represent the different entities that might make up a corporate group. You can see there's some messy handwriting, although I'd say actually I've seen much worse than this from a number of partners I've worked with. And I will start by saying the quickest way to create this type of visual would be to go into Jigsaw itself and just build it out from scratch, rather than getting your pen and paper and sketching it out. And now what we'd use Jigsaw for is to convert that into a digital version. Quickest way would just be going to Jigsaw. However, certain partners, senior lawyers, they are not ready or they don't necessarily have the patience to learn a new piece of software. So they are still doing it this way. So what we're doing is adapting to their needs, to their wants. And as I was saying earlier, if we can win the hearts and the minds of senior lawyers, that is the way to win everybody else. So what we can do with this diagram is if I go back to Jigsaw, browse for it, photo of chart to diagram here, because we just assume you took a picture with your smartphone. I can then add this to Jigsaw and click create. And what it does, Jigsaw is now going through with computer vision that I mentioned to try and identify what each of the line drawings equate to, which of those are rectangles, triangles, ovals, what those things mean in terms of partnerships, trusts, corporates. It's trying to look at any gradients in the page and differentiate, make sure there's not just folds in the paper that may have actually caused misidentified lines, and then it will convert that to a hand-drawn image. The idea that lawyers would create this by hand, they would then normally give it to a junior lawyer, they would give it to a secretary, a paralegal, or someone else to then create a digital version in PowerPoint usually, send it back to the partner, would then review it, normally make comments because it wouldn't be right the first time. They then send it back again, and you have this iterative process, normally 3 or 4 turns before the partner's going to be happy. So with this, you can see it takes maybe a minute or so. They've sketched their diagram, taken a photo, and Jigsaw now drawing the diagram, essentially recreating it for them. And we now have a digital version within Jigsaw, which you can do anything you want. So you can move everything around as you would Jigsaw. I can add to it digits, so I can make amendments in here. And it's essentially you have you've gone from, well, it could be on the back of a napkin to a digitalized, polished version you could send to a client. We can add in here a nice legend of exactly what each of these different shapes mean. We can add a theme here as well. So you can color code what's happening there. And it's in a matter of minutes, like I said, gone from sketching to a polished version. So that is one aspect of utilizing the AI within Jigsaw. The other that we've noted, and this is for lawyers who are a little bit more tech savvy, we've noted that they've moved on from pen and paper, and some of them are even using their iPads or touchscreen machines in order to sketch out ideas. This is exactly what I've just described. This is a touchpad version. So in fact, I'll use my finger on it now. I'm just creating a circle there. That was actually supposed to be a triangle. You can just create a line to join them all together.
Travis, so what types of devices can you do this on?
Anything with a touch screen. And I often use my cursor as well as stylus. So I've even got an app on my phone. So if you're out in a bar, you're chatting to a client. This day, actually, a GC was telling us that they needed to sketch something out on a napkin because they were in a bar with a client. And they need to talk it through. And they're actually able to use the Jigsaw app instead. Yeah, anything you can use with a touch screen, you can use this little sketch pad here. This is a really nice way that we've been able to utilize AI in a different sense. For me, this is a practical use case of artificial intelligence for lawyers because there's a lot of stuff out there and people sometimes searching for a way to use it. This is quite apparent in its benefits. And then we can transition to some of the more typical use cases.
Before we leave that, the sketchpad, can I just ask, so when you're in the sketchpad, are you able to then, similar to the importing a diagram feature, then build onto it within Jigsaw as
Yes.
okay, and
Yeah, you
change
can.
shapes
You can
and
either build in here, but actually what you can do is just send this to normal Jigsaw. And
okay.
then you have additional, like much more complex, sophisticated functionality. You can create a steps paper from there, or you can add all your themes, logos, all that type of stuff. This is a sketch pad, and then you
Yeah.
send it into Jigsaw.
It becomes the core. Okay. Because
Yeah.
for those who are watching and haven't seen Jigsaw before, you can, of course, store data in behind the entities and all of that kind of thing. So it has those rich features as well. And I'm sure Travis and his team would be happy to show those to you also if you reached out. But these are new, really cool features.
There's so much to show, Nikki. We'd love to show everyone everything, but we just haven't the time. So, yeah, we can store, as you've mentioned, lots of data into the diagrams. You can manipulate those diagrams based on the data. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff we can do on that front also. Sticking with the theme of AI, if I go to this example description, so maybe you've received an email from a client describing the type of structure they would like to set up, or you've made notes because you've been on a call and you've jotted down the type of structure that it is. You can see here, this has investor group 1, 2, and 3. It talks about the fact they're residing in the USA. It discusses who owns who. There's a number of bits of just vanilla, quite standard information you have in here. If I just copy this information, I go back to Jigsaw, and this time I use our text functionality, and I can just paste it in here. And this is the same as before, but this is using probably more of what people associate with AI nowadays, which is the generative AI in terms of the large language models, understanding what's been written, interpreting that, and then building out the structure that represents the text. This is quite a common use case because you normally have something to start working with. So you can see it's now just built out a diagram. As I said, everything's movable. You can add to it. You can make it look pretty. We want to add some nice themes in here and a logo. Then you've just gone from a set of text or some notes and you've created yourself an initial structure, which maybe you go on to adapt and alter, but hopefully you can see a heck of a lot quicker than if you were trying to utilize PowerPoint or Visio. And the moral of the story with a lot of this is Jigsaw, starting from scratch in Jigsaw is super quick and easy. Building out a structure from nothing, the quickest way to do it isn't here. It's quicker than trying to write up the text, trying to draw something by hand, is starting in Jigsaw. The reality is lawyers normally have a starting point from somewhere. They've had a client that sent them a brief of some kind. They already have some data in Excel representing a number of the structures that are involved. There is normally some starting point. They're not often starting from scratch, even if it's simply that they're going to utilize a previous structure. So maybe that's a PDF or it's in PowerPoint. Again, you can import those because it's the same as taking a hand-drawn sketch. A PDF is simply a photograph of the diagram. So you can take that photograph and Jigsaw will convert that to an on-screen editable version. So typically there's a starting point and we're trying to help people get from that initial starting point immediately to something pretty client ready. And you might want to tweak it or add a few bits and bobs, but it's hopefully getting you most of the way there pretty quickly and pretty easily with a lot less pain than I remember when I was practicing trying to do this stuff in PowerPoint.
Travis, thank you so much. I think one thing that really stands out to me here is the flexibility that no matter how you work, you've provided the lawyer with a means of entering their diagram into Jigsaw, whether that is from scratch or from a picture, or so you're really meeting them where they are. It's very clever. And we're going to put a link at the bottom of the screen for those of you who would like to reach out to Travis and the Jigsaw team. Travis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Likewise, thank you so much, Nikki. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Definitely. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.